Coming in. Let's turn now to Richard Socarides, former senior advisor on gay civil rights issues to President Clinton, and now a Democratic strategist. Welcome back, sir.
Hi, Keith.
I mentioned with Josh, this was not an isolated incident. It's not isolated in context. What do you see in the Tea Party? Is it social conservatives masquerading as fiscal conservatives, or fiscal conservatives pretending they're not social conservatives?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because when pollsters ask Tea Party members if these social issues like gay marriage and gay rights are important to them, they say no. They rank them very low in importance. But what we see here in this incident, and we've seen with others, is that with this fiscal conservative, this so-called fiscal conservatism, because it really isn't fiscal conservatism, but with what they're calling fiscal conservatism, comes a lot of very socially conservative, a very socially conservative framework. What we're really worried about today, you know, in New York with Mr. Paladino, is the horrible message this kind of talk sends, first of all, to young people who may be struggling with their own identity, and also with the message it sends to people who agree with him, who think that this gives them permission to stigmatize and to bully and to hate, especially in this context that you were discussing with Josh, where we've had this probably the most horrific hate crime in the history of New York City, that came right after this poor kid from Rutgers jumped off the George Washington Bridge.
The political context, the former Bush campaign manager Ken Mehlman said earlier this year famously that in 04 and 06, the GOP used initiatives, gay baiting initiatives on ballots around the country to bring out the evangelical vote. How much of that conscious dynamic do you see here when Christine O'Donnell at one time pretty much dedicated her life to anti-gay work, when, as Josh just pointed out, there are no dog whistles here. This was flat homophobic language used by this candidate for governor of New York?
Well, I think you see some of it, whether it's conscious, whether it's part of a campaign strategy or not. You're going to see some of it, especially in the closing days of this campaign when people want to try to rally the base. But I think the difference this year is that it's not really going to work. I mean, we've made, you know, despite the fact that people in the gay rights movement are upset with President Obama for not doing enough, the truth is that the country culturally has made a lot of progress, even since earlier in 2006. And what we have to do now is keep making that progress, and it would be really a shame to go back. But if the Republicans, if this kind of talk and if these so-called fiscal conservatives push the Republican Party in a direction of social conservatism, you're going to see a Congress that is very reluctant to even do away with Don't Ask, Don't Tell next year, and certainly not pass employment discrimination protections that we've been trying to get.
But the flip side that we saw of the gay baiting in 04 and 06 from the Republicans was that social conservatives mostly did not get what they wanted. They got played. Bush and the Republicans took their votes, and there was no second half to the deal. What is this Christian right / Tea Party / whatever they're going to call themselves next time? What do they do if it turns out that even the Tea Party is playing them too?
Well, you know, they've been trying to make God part of elections for, now for the last couple of decades. And it's very interesting what's happening now, because I think it's going to backfire. And I think that, we have to tell gay people that God made you how you are, that it's perfectly normal, that you need to go forward, lead your life, be out. That's why this important issue of gay marriage is so important, because it sends a message. Marriage is really a proxy issue. It's not really so much about who you get to marry, but it's really a proxy issue for whether or not you believe that gays are entitled to full dignity, full respect, complete, equal, full equality now.
Richard Socarides, former advisor to President Clinton. As always, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, Keith.